The NERC's December 12th meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll begin with, since we have a large group here, we will do an introduction of the commission members. We'll go around the room clockwise. My name is David Graham, Mayor of City, Crown Point for Chair. Serve with Ty over here.
I'm Ty Warner. I'm Executive Director for Nursing.
Blair Milo, Mayor of City Report.
Jim Tom, Chesterton Town Council.
Bob Schaefer, Long Beach Town Council.
Anthony Copeland, Mayor of the City of Chicago.
Rick Markey, Division Administrator, Federal Highway Administration.
Tom McDermott, Mayor, Hammond, Indiana.
Dave Schaefer, Clerk Treasurer for the Town of Muncie.
Kevin Bright, Steve Porter, County Surveyor.
Keith Stockos, Mayor of Lake Station. James Snyder, Mayor of the great city of Portage.
Michael Griffin, Clerk Treasurer for the Town of Highland.
Joe Stahura, Mayor of the City of Whiting.
Bob Olman, Indiana Department of Transportation. Jeff Reeves, Burns Harbor Town Council.
Anthony Campbell, Union Township Trustee.
Pamela Richter, Union Chicago Town Council. Rosewood Jacobs, Clerk Treasurer for the Town of Kingsford Heights.
Richard Ludlow, Schneider, Town Council.
Richard Murphy, Michigan City Common Council.
Gregory Sanchez, Lake County Surveyor.
Richard Mrozinski, LaPorte County Council, retired steelworker.
Ed Morales, Porter Township Trustee.
Tom Clauser, Ogden Davis, Councilman.
John Baylor, Crab Creek Town Council.
Tom Schmidt, Sherville Town Council.
Greg Stinson, Porter Town Council.
Jim Simmons, Winfield Town Council.
Christine Sid, Lake County Council.
John Costas, Mayor of Valparaiso.
Bob Carnahan, Cedar Lake Town Council.
Jeff Benson, Beverly Shores Town Council.
Tom Barolczyk, Town Council, Maryville.
Good morning, Karen Freeman Wilson, Mayor of the City of Garrett.
Jeff Decker, Dyer Town Council. Craig Early, Town of Lowell.
Jim Blair, Porter County Council.
Diane Knoll, Clerk Treasurer, Town of Wanacom. You're in Dorner, yeah.
Stan Dobas, Griffith Town Council.
Roosevelt Allen, Lake County Commissioner.
Don Anson, Beacon Town Council.
Dave Decker, LaPorte County Commissioner.
Nancy Adams, Board of Commissioner.
Ed Solomon, Governor's appointee.
Dave Hollenbeck, NERC Attorney.
Brian Snedeker, Mayor of the City of Folsom.
This morning, Commissioners, Mayor, we do have a quorum, correct? Okay. Just real quick, I know there's going to be a lot of conversation between the commissioners and in this room. The voice does carry a little bit, but we ask all the commissioners to speak a little bit louder for everybody can hear. And if we can have the audience allow commissioners to speak and no interruptions. And if there's something that you're passionate about, something that you're not passionate about, we ask for all those things to be held inside so the commissioners can actually have a constructive dialogue about any topic that might be on the agenda. If there's a vote that takes place today on certain topics, we ask you not to rise up and cheer for a specific answer or an answer that goes the other way on a boo. Allow us to continue to do our business in an orderly fashion so we can do business in a professional manner. Thank you. We're going to start with the report of the chair. Before we begin, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Hollenbeck, who has some important commission certifications to announce to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under the NERC enabling statute, members of the commission serve at the pleasure of their appointing authority. And the commission has received 2 notifications from appointing authorities that they are changing their designated representative on the commission. The town of Lowell has communicated with us indicating that effective today, Craig Early is the town appointment, and the town of Merrillville has communicated with us that as of this morning, Tom Goralczyk is their appointment. And those are proper appointments, and those individuals are duly seated on the commission.
Very good. Tom and Greg, thank you for being here this morning. Welcome to the commission. Also, we want to also welcome Greg Sanchez here as well as his first commission here as well. We also have a staff service award, and I'm going to turn this over to Ty Warner.
For those of you who have not been to a NERC meeting before, we have a tradition of recognizing key milestones for staff And today we have one in particular for 10 years of service. Whenever I have introduced myself as being from NERC, almost invariably one of the first things that I hear is recognition of the trail system in northwestern Indiana. 130 miles of paved trails that have been developed over the course of time. And there is no one perhaps more responsible or has been a bigger part of that than Mitch Barloga, who celebrates his 10-year anniversary on his staff. Mitch also has been taking over the transportation planning program since Bill Brown retired earlier this year, and was responsible for pulling together that beat him off of a staff report regarding the Iliana. And so Mitch has taken on a lot of great things this year, and after 10 years, congratulations, Mitch.
Out there, Mitch was getting this award this morning. That's why the crowd is so large. Well deserved. Also, I want to announce on our chair's report, NERC will begin to have the nominations committee formed for the 2014 Executive Board of Officers. I am announcing this morning that immediate past chair Jeff Benson, representing Porter County, Thomas McDermott Jr., representing Lake County, Richard Murphy, representing Fort County, Ty Warner, the Executive Director of NERC, and myself will be the 5-member nomination committee. If anybody wants to be considered for an Executive Board position for 2014, please contact Ty Warner. Everyone has a cell number, email, or receive after the meeting indicating that you will be considered. The nomination committee will announce its results at the first scheduled January 2014 meeting and ask for the full membership to ratify the committee's results. Also, at the last meeting, I yielded some time to hear a story that McGarvin would address the full commission in regards to the demand response issue in the South Lake County Community Services with respect to pickup drop-off of residents at the 8400 block of Grant Street. I'm happy to announce that this issue, because of NERC's interaction, was able to pull together the landowner and the South Lake Community Services to execute a hold harmless agreement so that the residents at that location can be picked up or dropped off near or right by their residence. And I want to thank the NERC commissioners, the staff, Lake County Community Services, Marable Lakes for taking the time to address this matter and solve this problem quickly. Alan's here to just kind of give a brief update on some of the timelines that took place for this agreement to happen. So I'm going to yield some time to Alan this morning.
Good morning. One of the sub-recipients of the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, being in Salt Lake County Community Services, was brought this to our attention. And over the past year, the Salt Lake County Community Services has had problems with the entrance gates at the residential Marable Lakes Apartments complex not functioning properly. Due to damage to both the entrance gate and the vehicles, South Lake County Community Services ceased to pick up riders on the property, as the mayor said. And on September 20th, South Lake County Community Services issued a notice to all riders that live at the apartment complex, encouraging them to continue using the service, but they would have to board and deboard the vehicles outside the gated area starting Monday, October 7, 2013. After issuance of this notice, one of the owners of the residence of Marable Lakes apartment complex contacted the South Lake County Community Services and apologized for letting the malfunctioning gates get so out of hand. He agreed to provide an indemnification agreement, which has been received by the South Lake County Community Services, and is now they have now resumed boarding all riders within the apartment complex. The South Lake County Community Services was not out of compliance with federal regulations and are going above and beyond the requirements to enter private property and pick up the riders that they pick up there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary, I'd just like to enter this in the public record, the agreement that was put in place between Marable and the South Lake Community Services. I also want to thank Matt for bringing that to attention. So again, it's always nice to know that an idea like that comes to the commission Commission took, and expressed passion to get that resolved, and at the end of the day, the ridership is the benefit.
I would also like to state that I'm on the South County Community Service Board, and I'm very pleased that this did transpire so we can accommodate those clients.
At this time, is there any other action by the members that would yield on my time that would bring up any action in your community? Okay. At this time, this will conclude the chairman's report for December 12, 2013, and after service warned that this will be my last report. So, yes, I'm very happy with that. With that, we'll go right on to order of business here. The first order of business is to approve the minutes that took place on the October 17th meeting. What is the commission's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the October 17th meeting.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Any discussion? Corrections, deletions, or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor with an eye?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Thank you. And I'll turn this over now to the Finance Personnel Committee, chaired by Mayor Nyman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Personnel Committee met yesterday afternoon to review a number of things. The first item that you have on the agenda is the action on Resolution 13-24, which is the 2014 budget. This is a little later this year than we usually approve it due to a number of things that have been changing, trying to investigate the changes that come with healthcare law and restrictions and changes needed to be made there, as well as some changes in the funding and the revenue that we're receiving. And there will be a $280,000 change, a cut in the PL that we receive funds from. But that goes from July 2014 to July 2015. So we'll experience a $140,000 cut for the budget year that we're reviewing for 2014. Due to that cut, there have been some significant changes that we've had to look at throughout the course of the budget. And so you'll see all the commissioners should have a copy of the budget in their packages. And you'll see on the page that shows the 2014 general fund expense budget, a decrease of about 4.2% across the board to adjust for this cut that's going to come from the PL. On a positive note, there were a number of grants in the environmental section, which you'll see on the general fund revenue sources that we'll be able to take advantage of. In the environmental section, there are some of those new grants that we'll be taking advantage of, include the Donnelly Foundation, Marina Shoreline, Coastal Partners for Clean Air, Burns Waterway Initiative 319, Rooftop Solar Challenge, and Brownfield. So there's some good news in the revenue sources. Some of the changes that were made overall then we're looking to be able to have an organizational consultant be able to review some of the staff needs. There were some salary reductions that were included, and we will not be looking to have interns for next year, and so that makes up the majority of the decreases that are shown on the fund expense budget, which results in that 4.2% decrease across the budget. So a lot of work that went into putting this together. I really want to congratulate and thank Angie Hayes for all of her hard work that she puts into this. And on the recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I make the motion to adopt Resolution 13-24, the 2014 budget.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor with an eye? Aye. Against? The ayes have it.
Next item you have is the procurement recommendations. There are 4 separate recommendations, but there are multiple items within each area. The first is a 5 vehicle replacements. This is procurement number 13-12, and this will purchase a vehicle replacement for the North Township Battle Ride, 2 vehicle replacements for Opportunity Enterprises, and 2 vehicle replacements for Porter County Aging and Community Services. We paid with FTA funds of 85% and 15% as matching funds from those individual communities. The recommendation will be to purchase 5 vehicle replacements for up to a total price of $324,150. The second item is a transit scheduling system, and purchasing route match transit scheduling equipment and software for North Township Dial Ride, Porter County Aging and Community Services, and South Lake County Community Services. This will be paid out of FTA funds of 80% with a 20% match. The recommendation is to purchase a transit scheduling system up to a price of $66,000. The third item is subrecipient computer replacements and purchasing replacement computers and software from Township Dial-A-Ride, Opportunity Enterprises, Porter County Aging and Community Services, and South Lake County Community Services. This will be paid with FTA funds of 80% and matching funds of 20%. Recommendation to purchase computer replacements up to a total price of $24,400. And the fourth item is NERC Electronics and Software, purchasing computers, hardware, and software upgrades, phone system, and accounting software for NERC to be paid out of FTA funds, 80% and 20% from the above listed agencies, up to a total price of $100,000. Upon recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I move to approve these purchase procurement recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, we have a second, any discussion on the four topics here? Hearing none, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Against? You guys have it?
The next item is a contract in the procurement that was discussed of the route match transit scheduling equipment. And this is a software license and services agreement between route match software and NERC. It allows for the use of tablets and the ability to then see where the vehicles are at any given time on their route. So upon recommendation of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I move to approve the software license and services agreement between Route Match Software and NERC.
Motion on the floor, we have a second. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Against? You guys have it?
And finally, I have a contract amendment, and this is an addendum 2 to the agreement between the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission and Conservation Design Forum Inc. for professional services secured under RFQ 12-13 for the provision of technical support services. And this is going to be for an increase to the total contract not to exceed $31,960 to extend the contract through March 30th of 2014. The deliverables that the task is being modified to are for a sub-area poster plan for the field school parcel and surrounding neighborhood in East Chicago, to include design guidelines compatible with the campus neighborhood, green building practices, retrofit energy and green infrastructure recommendations, and a booklet format of the poster plan recommendations and guidelines suitable for use as a green guidance document for local redevelopment, economic development, homeowner incentives, and other initiatives throughout the city. Upon recommendation from the Finance and Personnel Committee, I move to adopt the contract agreement.
We have a motion on the floor, do we have a second?
Second.
A second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Against? You guys have it?
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up, the Environmental Management Policy Committee. Kevin? Thank you, Chairman.
The Environmental Management Policy Committee discussed the Ileana and NERC staff's Ileana White Paper at length at the regular meeting Thursday morning, December 5th. It was the consensus of the board to make the following statement and recommendation. As there are uncertainties about the environmental impacts of the proposed Ileana project, which may be addressed or resolved through the remainder of the environmental impact statement and permitting process, the EMPC requests to be recognized stakeholder entity to allow members to actively participate and comment in all environmental reviews. The EMPC willingly commits to be actively engaged in the various state and federal environmental permitting processes that must occur should this project be approved. Thank you.
The pathway to the 2040 Implementation Committee, Michael Griffin, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. With my colleague commissioners, good morning. The Pathway 2040 Committee actually convened a special meeting on the 4th of December, and the purposes of that special meeting was to consider the Ileana project. You have in your packet, however, our minutes from October 10th when we met. At that time, we did take up the issue of livable communities and had a wonderful presentation on that. During the course of our meeting, most recently in our special committee with the President and colleagues, we had a presentation both from NDOT as well as from the NERC staff with regard to the evaluation and the competing qualities and characteristics that deal with the issue of the Ileana Express, the proposed Ileana toll road project. There were several motions that were issued that day, none of which were adopted. The committee did not come to a consensus, essentially, on whether to recommend the proposed Ileana Expressway to the full commission, or we could even take a position on it with regard to its alignment to our comprehensive plan, which was essentially why I believe our committee wanted to hear that. And the fact that we could not get a positive vote on any of those positions, we decided then to forward to you essentially no recommendation.
Mr. Chairman. All due respect to the chair, Mr. Griffith, who I respect greatly, I'd like to point out that NERC is run by committees, and not everybody on this full board is a member of that committee, who are privy to the information that was presented to that committee. And quite frankly, I think because the Pathway to Implementation Committee, their sole purpose in life is to make sure that any change we make to the 2040 plan is part of that, or the 2040 plan is implemented in Lake County. So how could the panel that's in charge of implementing the 2040 plan take a pass on probably the most controversial issue I've seen since I've been a member of the NERC? I think that we need to punt back to the 2040 Implementation Committee and ask the Implementation Committee to take a stand on this one way or another so that they can properly inform the full board members like myself, who's not part of the Implementation Committee. I would like to hear what the committee has to say. I mean, I'm a member of other committees, and we make a decision and we present it to the full board. How could the committee that's in charge of the nationally award-winning 2040 plan not take a position on the Ileana and then expect us to make an informed vote? I think we need to delay this vote, pass it back to the 2040 committee, and have them take a position one way or another. That's what we do. We have committees in NERC. If we were in the General Assembly and a committee didn't take a stand on a bill, that bill wouldn't move forward. So I make a motion that we delay this vote, set for today, and we pass back this issue to the 2040 Implementation Committee that's in charge of making sure that our award-winning plan is being followed, and have them take a position one way or another.
Mr. Chair.
I so move.
I second the motion.
We have a motion before us.
I guess my only comment would be that the mayor's motion may be a little premature since we haven't gotten to that part of the agenda when we're actually voting on the issues that he's raising. That being said, if you're going to...
I guess my only comment would be that the mayor's motion may be a little premature in the agenda since we haven't gotten to that point in the agenda where the vote is scheduled to occur. That being said, I suppose it would be the chair's prerogative to decide whether, assuming the mayor would restate that motion in the agenda when we get to those two votes, it would be the chairman's prerogative to decide whether you want to deal with this now or you want to deal with it later on in the agenda when we're actually starting the vote.
I think at this point, though, we are talking about the pathway to the 2040 committee, so the topic may be germane to that portion of the agenda. So whether it's now or later, I think it's a viable motion to have consideration. We do have a motion on the floor. We do have a second. Per Rockall's order, we need to conclude that motion to its entirety. So, yes. So we're going to open up for discussion on the motion prior to calling for a voice vote on that motion. So I'm open to discussion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to point out to the NERC board, and I'm sure everybody's fully aware, that when we passed the 2040 plan, we received a national award for the wisdom of that plan, for how good that plan was put together. I was chairman when that happened, so I remember getting the national award. And here we are, the committee that's in charge of implementing that plan doesn't take a stand on the most controversial issue we have facing us. I think we cannot move forward as a full board unless we know fully what happened in the committee level. Anyway, I restated my motion.
Mr. Chairman?
As the chair is
just to speak on behalf of the committee, I appreciate the words from my colleague and my friend, Commissioner McDermott. and I appreciate his kind remarks with regard to me at the outset. I don't want anyone on the commission here to come away with the belief that the committee didn't try to grapple with this seriously. The meeting was fairly protracted. There were several attempts to try to attain a majority. That was difficult. And I will say that one of the things that was discussed that day was my public finance nerdness, as a matter of fact. And I only raised that to say that the issues are very close here, Commissioner. The issues in terms of cost-benefit analysis, I believe that there's an argument to be made. But you could respect positions on both sides, simply because the analysis is close. And in the end, it comes down to how you weight them. If you were just simply measuring the amount of elements that are in alignment with the 2040 plan, and those that are neutral, you would have a numerical majority. But the weight of those individual matters are an issue. And some members of our committee, who I respect, indicated that neutral actually doesn't really weigh in favor, where it has no, where there's neutrality in terms of the analysis that the staff performed in terms of how it aligns with how the proposal aligns with the 2040 plan, that left them not knowing. And I will say that regardless of the position ultimately taken by the commission, many of us came away feeling that the staff had done an excellent job, that even they, as professional planners, gave us a professional report, but evidenced that they wished that they had more data and they had better models that could have given more reliable information that could have better informed it. But that's not a staff issue, that's just a tools issue. I believe we got professional planning. But I will say, with regards to this position of motion, I know that every member believes that it's in service to the larger work of the commission. If this comes back to us, we'll certainly grapple with it once again. I don't know how successful that will be. But we certainly believe that we're in service to the larger mission of the commission. We certainly will take any instruction we get from this commission seriously.
Mr. Chairman?
Hold on.
I'd just like to say that I don't think there's any board member here that has not thoroughly entrenched themselves in the knowledge about what we're here in regards to this vote today. I do respect Chairman or Board Member McDermott's comments, and those are well taken. But I also have to say that the Transportation Subcommittee strongly endorsed sending this today for a vote, supporting it. I think we all are here to do our due diligence and to vote accordingly. I think to delay this is doing no good. I think we're here today. I think we have all received adequate information, both for and against the consideration of this vote today. And I think it's our responsibility to move forward and taking a vote.
Chairman, I agree with Mayor Snedekor's remarks. With all due respect to Mayor McDermott.
1 minute, Mayor, please.
The committee assignments are advisory in nature, and the committee has acted and has spoken. Ultimately, it is the duty of this body to vote on this issue. Now, this is an issue that's been vetted thoroughly for years, and so it's not an issue that's just been esoteric to that committee upon which we have to really rely. This is the time to act. We talked about this and studied this for years, and to run it back to a committee is simply not progress, and I would encourage my commissioners to vote against this motion.
Robert Carnahan, the town of Cedar Lake. I would say that we need to take action today too. Due to the fact we have a large crowd of people here that have come to hear what our decision is, and we don't want to delay it to where they come back again and again. And if we wait till next year to make this decision, a lot of these board members may change. So we may have all new members that won't know too much about what's going on with this whole situation. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. You know, I think it's been said many times, and I know people from Lowell have questions as well. And you cannot make a decision if you don't have all the answers. And Commissioner McDermott said it best. The pathway committees, if they can't come to a decision, then how can we? I don't care if we have to come back here 100 times. We need to do what's right. And we need to wait until we get the answers.
Mr. Chairman, I was at that meeting as a commissioner and a member of the 2040 plan. And it seems difficult for me to hear people who weren't there describe it as can't come to a decision. We thoroughly discussed all the issues, and there were just simply some ambiguities with the 2040 plan that could not be delineated clearly. That does not mean that there was a consensus one way or another, but it does mean that we could not come to a majority decision. And part of that is because of the fact that the 2040 plan, when it was written, the Ileana project was a conceptual project. It was one that didn't hold a lot of facts. So when the staff went back to try and show matching points in the 2040 with the Ileana project, they weren't always able to do so because it hadn't been included as a solid inclusion in the 2040 plan. It was conceptual at that point. So that's what determined the fact that it was difficult for us to come to a consensus one way or another. It wasn't that we weren't doing the job we were supposed to do or not paying attention to the facts. We just recognized that some of the ambiguities were still there, making it difficult to take a solid position. We worked very hard on that. I think the fact that we could not arrive at a consensus is a result of the committee. That's not something that we did deliberately that out of intention. We just couldn't come to a conclusion based on the fact that all the things weren't lining up. That wasn't anything other than that. And everyone there agreed and agreed to disagree for extended amount of time. We put some real effort into that. And I think to discount that and say, well, we have to meet again, is a real waste of our time on the committee, on the 2040 committee, because we already did. We told you what we came up with. Now we have people here that expect us to make a decision, and we want to roll it back, kick the can down the road even further, and delay a decision. I think that's improper. I think that was a decision the committee came with. It should be recognized that we did our best. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, I'm Ed Soliday, Chairman of the House Transportation Committee. This motion brings to something to point that I have mentioned, and it will probably come up again today. NERC is the only metropolitan planning organization in the state that has its entire bylaws in state statute. And it was mentioned that in the legislature things have to come out of committee before they can be voted on by the House. The fact is that the state legislature has very strict rules, and it very clearly defines process, and it very clearly defines who is on committees. Now, one of the things that has become, and to change the bylaws of this organization, 150 people have to vote on it, 100 of whom who've probably never been in Northwest Indiana. So the fact that we use a very strict committee process that goes clear back to Alexander Hamilton nationally has little application here, because the bylaws do not require that those committees vote or that we base any decision upon those committees. And it also does not have clear statements of who should be on those committees. So delaying this vote, which delays all kinds of things, could cost the rise in the price of the project and diminish bidder confidence, to do something that once it's done, be subject to some challenge because the definitions of roles and responsibilities need to be cleaned up, just as which census. We're the only MPO that has in state statute what year's census we must use. When we tried to change it 3 years ago, bill was killed, but it needs to be fixed. And just waiting around for that in a major project that has huge impacts on our region and on our area really does nothing constructive. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman. I think, obviously, this is a very...
1 minute, Commissioner, please.
Obviously, this is a very touchy issue. I think, first off, we have a committee whose sole purpose is to ensure the implementation of the award-winning 2040 plan. They didn't take a stance on this. I've had many bills go down to the General Assembly, go to committee, and die in committee because they couldn't reach consensus one way or the other. Either it was rejected or it just died in committee. And guess what happens? When your bill is in committee, it doesn't move forward. We're taking people's homes. We're changing the landscape of South Lake County. I'm sure that if I was losing my home, I would want to make sure that NERC did everything in its power to make sure that this plan is kosher, that this plan is legal, that we've done everything on our end before we took a vote to take somebody's home. I think a 1 month or 2 month delay is the least we could ask for somebody that's about to lose their home.
Mr. Chairman, as we're having this discussion now, and we're going to vote now, are we going to be having another vote later, or are we going to conduct the entire debate now?
Well, I mean, I think at this point right now, we're with the motion on the floor. If the motion wins majority, to set it back, it may very much take two things on the agenda off the table.
But if it doesn't,
then we move on.
My question would be, can we finish the debate with everybody here and bring finality to the matter since we brought it up now? If not, I would call the question so we can move on.
I just want to make one comment. I will call the question.
Okay, can I ask one more thing? Sorry. Mr. Griffin, is there anything more that could have been given to your committee that would have allowed you to make a decision? Or did the staff thoroughly vet this and is in your best of knowledge?
With your leave, Mr. Chairman, can I respond to the Commissioner? Thank you. I think the staff practiced the very finest planning science they could. And I believe that we were given as much information as we did at that time. One of the difficulties here is that this, because of the nature of the models and some of the outcomes, some of the weights, the amount of weight to give to some of these places where there is alignment, there may be alignment, it's unclear if there's alignment, and which is not alignment, have to be almost a subjective issue. And so I'm not sure that further deliberation at our end would produce a different result. We certainly had hoped when we started that meeting that we would have a result to recommend. And by the way, the Pathway Committee made a determination that it wanted to offer an opinion. It wasn't something that had been planned. The belief was that the Transportation Planning Committee would be making the sole recommendation. And our committee, on its own motion, essentially hoped that they could offer an opinion, and by a majority vote, the staff supported that. So I would, as the chair, that I could have brought something more dispositive to the full commission. I regret that we could not, but I do believe, as it's been said here, that the fact that we could not was really a reflection of the closeness of some of these issues in terms of cost-benefit and the subjective nature of some of the variables that every commissioner is just going to have to consider that planning science cannot do. So staff did their job. They did the heavy lifting. I felt like we got all the information in accessible fashion, that we had high planning science, and largely just deals with the individual level of being able to come to a place subjectively to determine the disposition of our plan relative to the proposal.
Mr. Chairman, sorry. So you don't believe in 3 months, 6 months, a year that you could be given different information?
If the commissioner is asking if I believe that the econometric model can change in that period of time, I have to rely on the planning sciences. But my sense is no. But again, while I don't think that we would, I do believe that we gave this a lot of time and we did try to do the heavy lifting. My sense is it may not be productive to send it back. But again, I say, we are in service to the full commission. If this vote goes the other way, then we'll certainly give it a try. But I tend to be among those people. I'm more aligned with those people who believe that the delay may not be productive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just real, all of us work in either a city or town where we've got appointed advisory boards, whether it's a planning commission or BZA. And we've always get those recommendations to come forward to us all the time as a city council or as a town council. And typically you get either a favorable recommendation or a non-favorable recommendation or no recommendation at all. Then it's up to the city council or town council to make a decision. And typically when it comes forward, either you support those decisions or you need to come up with new evidence to overturn, because typically you're ratifying those decisions. This one's a little bit different because we don't necessarily have a true sense of this is the board and its makeup based on appointments. It's voluntary. Each and every year the chairman puts a list out there and says, which board or committee would you like to serve? And typically you pick your top two and that's where you apply it. You put a chair, you put a vice chair in it, and it runs its course. And because each and every one of you have your day-to-day operations in your own cities or towns, and you rely on those advisory boards to do their due diligence, to bring information back on your behalf. And anybody's welcome to attend those meetings, even if you're not assigned to them, and your voice is actually heard and counted in any of those decision-making processes that are brought up here. To say that this topic here, that anybody walked in here today, at this point sitting at the table, didn't really have your mind made up and was waiting for one more piece of information, probably is not the case. This one's a little bit different. This one's outside the box. This is your typical, where you rely on the F&P to bring in numbers that says we've vetted things through, or the TPCs ran through things and all the grants have been, I's been dotted and T's been crossed, the staff's gone through it. This one's a little bit different. So just keep that in mind as we look forward and if there's any calls for questions. But I know Mr. Warner here wants to talk about the staff side of the equation.
I just feel I should clarify something about the staff report. This is not in disagreement with what was said, but just to clarify the uncertainties within that staff report. Those uncertainties were not necessarily due to a lack of information. It had to do with the stage of the project and the unknowns at this point in its development. NDOT actually has been extremely responsive to requests for information, so there's no feeling on the part of staff that there was a lack of responsiveness there. Not all the uncertainties also are not NDOT's responsibility. So, for example, and I bring this up as an example only, not as a special report compared to the other recommendations in that staff report. There's been a lot of concern about sprawl developing from this project. The report makes the point of saying that developing quote-unquote sprawl is not a foregone conclusion if there are strong land use controls in place to address development around this project. That's not NDOT's responsibility. That goes back to those that have land use authority. So I just want to clarify, those uncertainties are not, we're missing information, et cetera. They have to do with the stage in which this project is, and there's some things that we simply can't know until further in the process.
Mr. Chairman, I call for a vote.
And I would ask, is it going to be roll call?
It's voice vote.
Voice at this time.
Could I ask for a roll call?
We're under a motion to second. If we can't determine based on the voice, I will call for the roll. So the motion is to delay the Ileana project and push it back towards the 2040 Information Committee for further decision, yes or up or down. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We have a second on that. So so with an aye, it says you are in favor of sending it back to the committee. A no would be to keep it on the table and to move forward today for a vote. So all in favor of sending it back to the committee, indicate with an aye.
Aye.
Indicate that you want to keep it on the agenda with a no.
No.
No's have it.
One thing, I went on the 2040 plan implementation, and I was on the 2040 committee that helped write the plan for 2.5 years. And our committee was tasked with making a recommendation whether or not to include the Ileana in the 2040 plan. And at that committee meeting, there were 3 motions that were voted on. None of them were successful. And so there's a talk, there was never a vote taken, does this committee recommend to not include? But but in light of twice failing to make a recommendation to include, it was decided that in essence, it didn't need the negative motion to be made. So there was never a vote to say, don't include this, but 3 times it did not pass to include. So that was the non-recommendation from the committee, was that the consensus was in the negative.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay, we will move to the Transportation Policy Committee. And third, Vice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Transportation Policy Committee met on December 3rd, and we have 4 actions for your consideration today. Minutes of our meetings will be found on page 43 of the packet. The first action that we bring in front of you today is not involving the Ileana or the I-65 project. It's Resolution 1325. It's Amendment number 5 to the LPA projects for fiscal year 2014-2017 TIP program. And Gary Everett's going to give a brief presentation on this resolution.
Thank you, sir. The agenda or the list of projects is found on page 50 of your agenda package. The first project is acting upon a request by the town of Lowell to add a preliminary engineering scope to a construction project that they have planned for State Road 2 between Burr Street and Fremont Street within Lowell. It's a bicycle and pedestrian project, so it doesn't really involve pavement. They're asking for additional dollars for preliminary engineering. The construction phase is already in the tip. The second 2 projects are countywide bridge inspection projects for Lake County and Porter County. These are engineering only, do not involve actual construction. And this is a 2-year study in each case. And finally, Lake County Highway Department has requested inclusion of a right-of-way study in one of their 45th Avenue construction projects. They are adding some earmark funds for the purchase of land and property and for the payment of other damages between Chase Street and Whitcomb within unincorporated Calumet Township. We are asking that you approve the inclusion of these projects in the
Thank you, Gary. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion on behalf of the Transportation Policy Committee to recommend adoption of Resolution 1325.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of an aye?
Aye.
Yes. Guys have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next 3 actions all involve the inclusion of the Ileana Expressway and the I-65 avenue travel lanes to our 2040 comprehensive regional plan in the short-range program. Mitch Barloga will present introductions for the commission.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to everyone. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to try to get you focused in on the next actions before the NERC Commission. Before we do, I would like to extend a warm thank you to Mayor Snyder here at Portage and to our Superintendent Jane Forsberg for working so well with us, with the NERC staff, and affording us this room today for this meeting. Before you are 3 actions regarding the Ileana Expressway and the I-65 project. Obviously, these are very significant endeavors, and I have made the presentation before the Transportation Policy Committee, but it's important that all of you in the Commission understand, as well as the people in the audience, what it's going to need to be taken before we get to the amendment of the Comprehensive Regional Plan. The history of the request before you today, again, is called Ileana Expressway. The proposal is for a 47-mile limited access toll facility from I-65 to I-55 in Will County, Illinois. It has been developed jointly between IDOT and NDOT. The I-65 widening is also part of this project and needs to be considered along with the Ileana Expressway. The project proposal is from 4 to 6 lanes between US 30 and Norristown to US 231 and Crown Point. For those of you who are familiar with the geography of Lake County, that does not extend to US 2 or State Road 2 in Lowell. That proposal will be coming before this commission next year, and that will complete the connection to the proposed Ileana facility. Now, the request was made by the Indiana Department of Transportation to the NERC staff to amend the 2040 comprehensive plan and the I-65 project in April of 2013. The Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, or CMAP, approved amending their go-to 2040 plan back in October 2013. So in essence, Illinois has already performed due diligence regarding this matter. Here's the letter that was sent from INDOT to the NERC Commission formalizing the request back in April. The geography of the project itself, for those who are still not familiar, the Indiana Expressway again will run east to west, 47 miles, pretty much through central Lake County, between Cedar Lake and Lowell. There will be 3 interchanges at this time that have been proposed by INDOT through the public planning process. I-65, State Route 55, and US 41. Several of the roadways here, you can see in green, have been slated to remain open. We have 3 roadways, minor roadways in particular, that will be closed due to the construction facility, again, at this time in the planning process. This is the schedule of development that INDOT put forward in their report. There we are right there where the red dashed line is, at the end of 2013. We are in the process of their Tier 2 NEPA, or their environmental studies. They completed Tier 1, and that was approved earlier in 2013. If you can take a look at here at the language at the bottom, if everything goes along accordingly, if the project is amended into the comprehensive regional plan, they are looking to construct in 2015 and open to the public in 2018. And as their language states, under the best case scenario, we understand that projects can run into contingencies, especially one as significant as this. The prerequisites that bring us here today. The congestion management process. This is a document that was approved by the Transportation Policy Committee at their November 19th meeting. The process involved looking at alternative routes in the Indiana Expressway corridor area, and it was determined that the Indiana Expressway would provide congestion relief along with the I-65 widening project. The environmental justice benefits and burden analysis. The report found no detriment to environmental justice communities, and no further action is required on this document. We did have an extensive public comment period that took place from October 14th to November 20th. 4 open houses were held, and Steve Sestero will be presenting on that momentarily. And the financial demonstration. We needed a fiscal constraint demonstration from INDOT that has been provided to NERC, and that has been also satisfied. All of these have been satisfied and are not on the table this morning. Here is the development of the amendment process, and we are now here at the final dashed line, December 12th, before the full commission with all the other prerequisites satisfied. As has been mentioned already, we did put out a staff analysis. This does happen to represent the largest infrastructure project Northwest Indiana has seen since the Interstate Highway Act in the 1950s. In that sense, we wanted to make sure that we afforded enough analysis based on our comprehensive regional plan. We've had this document out for about a month for all major decision stakeholders, as well as for the public here in Northwest Indiana and beyond. As for the analysis itself, again, we are here the report was created to guide decision makers such as yourselves regarding the Indiana Expressway request specifically, not the I-65 one. However, the number 65 is mentioned here. 65 goals and objectives were analyzed from the 2040 CRP, and the following classifications were used. From consistent to inconsistent, consistent that the Indiana would be consistent with that particular goal, to inconsistent, not being consistent with that particular goal or objective. Mixed, kind of a mix of the two. Uncertain, simply put, the Indiana Expressway didn't have a clear nexus with that goal or objective. And then neutral, that the Indiana Expressway really didn't matter regarding that particular goal or objective. And those were all afforded to their goals and objectives within the staff analysis that has been out this time. The actions that were before the Transportation Policy Committee and now are before you here at the NERC Commission level, the air quality conformity. This is analysis to determine the new projects stay within emissions calculations set by the Environmental Protection Agency. I'll be bringing up staff member Scott Weber to talk about that momentarily. The amendment to the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan. Again, the plan request must contain both projects in order to be programmed in the Transportation Improvement Program. You cannot have a vote on one or the other. They must be taken together because of the air quality conformity. We have run extensive modeling on the air quality impacts of both projects, and they both must be approved. If they are not, we go back to the drawing board. And then the TIP amendment. The project will not be able to move forward in construction without inclusion in the Transportation Improvement Program, and Gary Evers momentarily will talk about that. I believe that concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mitch. Stephen will give us a brief summary of the public comment period. Stephen?
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to give a really brief, like Mitch said, just a really brief overview of the public comment period. Like Mitch said, it was held from October 14th to November 20th. That's about 38 days in total, and 30 were required for this. We held 4 public meetings, one in Gary, one in Lowell, one in Portage, and one in Michigan City during that time. These were held, and I know there were some questions as to why we were holding these in all 3 counties. We were holding these in all 3 counties because this is obviously a regional commission. These are regional documents. This is something of regional significance. So we wanted to make sure that these meetings and the ability to comment was convenient for all citizens of the region. Overall, we received about 720 comments during the comment period, and I believe you should have all received the public comment report. It's also been on our website since the day before Thanksgiving. So that was all put together so that way you all can go through that and become informed of what the comments were during the comment period. And I just want to thank everybody for came out and participated, wrote in, called in. It was great to see so many people come, so many people participate. Thank you to the commissioners as well who came and also heard comments and interacted with the folks who came. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Mr. Commissioner, Jim Earl from NDOT will now give us a brief, short summary of their findings regarding the Iliana I-65 project.
Commissioner, thanks again for letting NDOT come here and present their summary for the project. I'm going to do a brief project summary. I think what Mitch talked about hit the nail on the head much better than anything we could produce and reiterate some of the information he did. I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of the project that NDOT and the city of Indiana believe are achievable for the region and for the county. Benefits of the project, obviously, it's going to improve east-west mobility for the area, improve the accessibility, potentially accessibility to the Chicago Airport. We're talking about nearly $1.5 billion in travel time savings. And for the Oregon Expressway, the I-90 corridor, we're talking about 300,000 annual truck hours and 200,000 annual auto hours of savings as well. We're talking about 3,300 potential short-term jobs, or 6,000 long-term jobs. They get over $1 billion of economic output for the region. A question that always comes up as well is who's going to use this facility. It's primarily for the long-distance through traffic in the region. Primarily those trucks that are coming from the east and lower to the west, or vice versa. In the whole scenario, just to give you an idea of the amount of traffic we're talking about in the facility, around 13,000 to 27,000 trucks a day, vehicles a day, depending on the toll scenario that we go with. The I-65 project, and again to reiterate, the portion that's being put forth for the commission to consider right now is the portion from 231 to the north. It's including the conformity analysis as the commission mentioned, and it's again up your endorsement of the amendment request. part of our procurement process, NDOT is looking forward, including the portion from State Road 2 up to US 231 as well. This is being done primarily for cost efficiency because of the attractiveness that we can bring to the project with that project in addition to the Ileana. Each project is an independent utility. We would build one without the other, but not dependent on each other. As far as the vendor request process goes, obviously we need to receive a ROD from Federal Highway for this project to go forward. Of course, we receive that ROD, this project has to be in the long range plan. So we've been working with NERC. We've had multiple meetings with NERC staff and NERC committees to describe the project and brief them on the process. We started this process back in the spring, and I think we've had a very good work relationship with the staff. They've been very accommodating to our concerns, and we've tried to address our concerns as well. During this process, it was provided, Tier 1 EIS information, support documentation, financial documentation, and we provided, in some cases, technical support as well. NERC has conducted all the required analyses of date, emission for the congestion management process, EJ analysis, air conformity, and so on. Everything has been fulfilled as far as the requirements of NERC staff had to do. So what NDOT is requesting, obviously, is for the Ileana Corridor project, the I-65 project to be admitted into this drain CRP. During the course of the project for the Ileana, during Tier 1 and Tier 2, we identified that corridor that best meets the transportation needs, the purpose and needs of this project, while balancing the social, economic, and environmental impacts as well. I want to make it pretty clear that even after today, there's still many hurdles we have to overcome for this project to be successful. We're going to have additional stakeholder meetings, agency meetings, meeting with local officials, meeting different stakeholders throughout the project process. Even if we get a yes vote today to make this project a successful project. So today is just a stepping stone in the process. Public outreach will also continue throughout the process as well. If the project is approved, we're going to have to reach out to all the different stakeholders throughout the region, property owners, businesses, local officials, to make sure we know their desires and needs. I quickly submit the financial considerations for the project. Really, we'll get a toll facility. Those tolls will help pay for the cost of the Ileana. On a full level, will be on a financial analysis which has not been completed yet. As far as the shared cost for the Ileana for Indiana, this is a point of concern. When we submitted our financial constraint document a few weeks ago, there was some confusion in the documentation, so we reworded it and resubmitted it. Just to clarify, total initial investments for state funds with participating federal funds will be in the range of $80 million to $110 million. The cost estimates that we've developed for Ileana have been reviewed by Federal Highway through a cost management process with the major project division of Federal Highway. And those cost estimates, when you total up for $1.5 billion, those do not include any potential savings we may see from innovation ideas from the concessionaire. Financial approaches, a number of different financial options that come to the project. Obviously, the private financing to the P3, we're also looking at TIFIA loans, tabs, equity investment from other investors, as well as conventional state and federal funds. They provided a financial demonstration to NERC. We did release our public-private partnership RFQ back in November. We're going to pursue the P3 as a design, develop, construct, finance, operate, maintain P3. And there will be AP payments made for the project as well. The long and the short of it when it comes to the financial part is that over the long term of the P3, of the whole life of the P3, there's roughly a 35-year time frame. On a year-to-year basis, the projected revenue coming in, the net total revenue will exceed the availability payments. So what that means is, if we do our math right and we do our work right, the personal tax rate should be minimized in the process.
first of the three actions before the commission following the Ileana Expressway and the I-65 added travel lanes project is Resolution 1326. And that can be found on pages 51, 52 of the packet. Regarding the air quality conformity determination, Scott Weber will briefly describe the findings of the air quality analysis.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Title 40 of the Code for Federal Regulations, the final transportation conformity rule, requires that any regionally significant project in a metropolitan planning organization's long-range transportation plan or transportation improvement program be found to conform with the state implementation plan. Since Lake and Porter counties are in non-attainment for the ozone 8-hour summer day and the maintenance area for fine particles, for annual fine particles, it is necessary that any regionally significant project in our 2040 CRP or our fiscal year 2014-2017 transportation improvement program be run through the conformity process. As such, Resolution 1326 requests action that amendments 3 and 4, adding the Ileana Expressway and the I-65 added travel lanes to the fiscal year 2014 to 2017 transportation improvement program and the 2040 comprehensive regional plan be approved for air quality conformity with the state implementation plan for air quality. This Commission's Transportation Policy Committee approved the air quality conformity technical analysis conducted by NERC's Interagency Consultation Group on Air Quality on last Tuesday, December 3rd. The analysis showed that highway local source emissions in 5-year increments out to the year 2040 would be well below the state implementation plan's budgets for the Lake Porter County ozone precursors and fine particles. By adopting Resolution 1326, this Commission makes a determination for air quality conformity subject to a final formal approval from the United States Federal Highway Administration.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Chairman, since there are 3 resolutions all involving the I-65 Ileana, would you prefer we do them individually since it's probably going to end up being a weighted vote, or do you want them all done
individually?
Individually. Okay. On behalf of the Transportation Committee, I make a motion to approve Resolution 13-26.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes.
I have a question. Maybe somebody from INDOT can answer. I'm trying to figure out, I mean, it was mentioned that the toll road is for through traffic. So if you're coming north on 65 and your destination is Milwaukee, you're going to take the toll road and go around the region. That's the purpose of it, right? And if you're coming from Milwaukee and you're going to Indianapolis, you're going to take the bypass around the region. That's the purpose. I'm trying to figure out why we're widening I-65 between 231 and 30. See, that's a project that I can support because I think it's needed, but I don't understand why it's part of the Ileana. Because people are going to be bypassing around the region, so why do we need to widen I-65? Because if it was taken out, the I-65 portion, I could vote for that. But we're including it with the Ileana for some reason. I don't know why. I have a feeling I know why. Maybe somebody from MnDOT can answer that. Why do we need to widen I-65 if people are going to be bypassing the region? There's going to be less traffic on I-65, right?
Mr. Chairman.
I would like to defer that question to Jim Earl, who is the project manager on this project.
Thanks, Bob. First of all, the I-65 project and the Ileana project are separate projects, separate utilities. The purpose of them are different purposes.
Could you say that again? I can't understand.
The purposes of the 2 projects are separate purposes.
So why are we putting them together?
Because the Ileana project, when it was put together by the environmental team, had to put together what's called a no-build alternative. In the no-build alternative, they had to look at all the projects that were in the potential plan for Indiana and Illinois. The I-65 project from 231 to 230 was in that plan. So it had to be included in the air quality conformity analysis. Since it had to be included in the air quality conformity analysis, and the Ileana is tied to it from a people perspective, we have to vote on them together.
But we could vote separately. Because they're 2 separate projects. No.
As for today's vote, no, you could not vote on them separately. To answer your question, there are some projects from a utility perspective. The Ilion project is a mobility congestion project. The Brooks I-65 project is to lessen the traffic density and improve safety.
I make a motion that we separate the two projects out, and go for I-65 separately.
We already have a motion on the floor. Point of order. Under discussion, Mitch, do you have any insight from staff side about why they're bundled together?
All I can say, Mr. Chairman, from my perspective, is that they were reduced together. And that's the extent of it. I believe it was NDOT's request to make this happen. Again, they are coming forward next year for the 231 and state round 2 request. And widening I-65 has been on their agenda for many years. And they thought it prudent among themselves to release those projects at this time. That's not the best I can analyze it at this moment. We might have some better. Do you have a comment on that?
Joyce Newland, Federal Highway Administration. The reason why the two actions are, the two projects are together is because NRC only wanted to do one conformity action. So the I-65 project has been around, and it's been around since pretty much last December, and was brought to NRC's attention in the spring of this year. And NRC just wanted to do one conformity determination. But in this action, the projects are in the same conformity determination, and you'd have to do another model run to take the projects out. So.
And again, just to buttress Ms. Newland's comments, yes, we had a previous moderator, Bill Brown, and I believe he determined it to be prudent to bring them both in at the same time, and that's why we're here today with this motion.
Under discussion, as Mayor of Crown Points, and we confirm the traffic flow that's up and down that corridor from 30 to 231 now, whether Ilion was built or not, widening those roads are desperately needed. There's no doubt about it. Remember, Jeremy, you've talked about the safety of that roadway. We've worked together to make sure the separation of the medians were done because of the accidents of crossing over from north and southbound lanes. So if we can continue to have a 65 wide, I mean, I think we all agree from Indianapolis, we all wish 3 lanes all the way down to Indianapolis. And this is a first step to hopefully that continuation. And, but I know that if Ilion is passed, it's going to even add even more traffic to that corridor. So having it in the same plan, to me, makes sense to do it all at once.
Chairman?
Yes.
I want to respond to another point from the gentleman from NDOT. He said that this will improve access to the Gary Chicago Airport. I know what else it'll improve access to the Piatone Airport. I know that. And I also know what improves access to the Gary Chicago Airport is Pine Avenue Bridge, which had more traffic per day than this highway will have, and it was never even considered to be rebuilt. And that would definitely improve access to the Gary Chicago Airport. But nobody cared from NDOT. And now all of a sudden we care. Well, if you build the Pine Avenue Bridge, that will definitely improve access to the Gary Chicago Airport and to the casinos that make lots of money for our state. But nobody cares about that.
Call the question.
We do have a motion on the floor. We have a second. We call for the question.
Mr. Chairman, I have asked before to be recognized.
I can't hear you.
I had asked before to be recognized prior to this point. Then this discussion took place and you forgot.
I'm sorry. We'll call for the question.
I did.
Drax.
So he can
You have the floor.
Thank you. Jim and Mitch have done a good job of covering some of the issues that I think are important to this. I guess my role here today, as a representative of the Indiana Department of Transportation, is to look at the 2040 plan, at least from my eyes, and examining the 2040 plan and the role of the 2040 plan, and how well this project fits that plan. if the votes cast here today are cast based on doesn't fit the plan, I think it clearly fits the plan, as it addresses issues of congestion, safety, mobility, economic development, jobs. I think it clearly fits the plan. And if I may have just a few minutes to talk about each one of those issues. Sure. I think, you know, we're at a crossroads here today, and it's an unfortunate crossroads. After many twists and turns for this project, we're sitting at a four-way stop now, and the intersection is the intersection of politics and public policy. It is unfortunate that Equifax becomes a political issue. Because for me personally, for the Indiana Department of Transportation, it's about mobility, it's about safety, it's about jobs, it's about economic development. We all know that congestion exists on the border. We all know all those long lines of trucks going up I-65 are going to go west on 80, 94, they're going to come back the same way. We all agree would reduce that congestion. This project will reduce that congestion. There are numerous debates about how much or how little, but everyone agrees that congestion will be reduced. I think it's interesting that some of the folks who actually argue that that reduction would be minimal also say that it's going to hurt the restaurants and truck stops at the exit. You really can't have it both ways. Safety. How safe do you feel on I-65 in Lake County? How safe do you feel on 80, 94? Feel good about your family being out there? You feel good about your friends being out there? Do you feel good about these folks who have given you their trust to represent them on this board and in your public office? Do you feel good about their safety out there now? I believe those are two of the most dangerous highways in the state of Indiana. And if we sit here today and do nothing about it, they'll continue to be just that. This is about policy. This is about casting a vote. Does this project conform to the 2040 CRP? Not is it a popular project? Do you like it or you don't like it? It's not the legislature. This committee has a statutory duty to do that one thing at this point. Does it conform? 2040 plan talks about congestion relief. 2040 plan talks about safety. We're all concerned with safety. It's really hard to swallow in my role the news that 5 people or 4 people were killed when a semi-truck hits an SUV on 65 a few months ago, and the driver never even touched the brakes. That wreck was so bad that the Indiana State Police could not even tell you how many people were in a fatal vehicle for hours. Think about that. Is that where you want to put the people you love, the people you respect, and family members, and the people who put you here? Is that the situation that you want to put them in? Is it okay? Are things okay now? I don't think so. Air quality. You move this congestion south, the air quality will increase here. What's one of the big issues in the region? Air quality. You're limited on the types of industries that you can bring in here, bring into the region because if in fact we can improve air quality, I think there's potential to diversify the industry that will come here. so that this area is not so dependent on just a few specific industries. Worth consideration. And forgive me, I'm slightly allergic to something in this room. It may be me. Economic development. I'm sorry. Economic development, we hear a great deal of talk about the Gary Airport. You know, I've been here 23 months. I'm part of the region. Whether you like it or not, I'm here. You're stuck with me. The Gary Airport does have the potential to be a major freight terminal, but doesn't under present circumstances. How do you encourage freight companies to come to locate their businesses at the Gary Airport when they drive 1 or 2 or 3 miles and you're sitting in bumper traffic trying to deliver time-sensitive products? It will be a very hard sell without this plan. You know, I hear over and over, it's better. There are much better things, better ways to deal with this. I would hear those ways. But we haven't listened to that part of the discussion. I haven't seen those proposals. I haven't seen the sources of money to do all those other better ideas. Jobs. My friends back here, folks behind me, the young people testified for us that they did. As we watch the BP, that major BP project wind down in Joe's area, the NIPSCO project wind down, these folks need jobs. This is an opportunity to create those jobs. We talk about spending money in the area. 2007 to 2012, NDOT in Lake County alone has spent $428 million. Part of that is the added capacity to the border. It's helped. It hasn't solved the problem. It hasn't solved the problem. Do we just say, folks in my neighborhood don't need their jobs that bad? Jobs are not hope. I hope we would create, in everything we do, we would create hope for those people because these roles of responsibility. This project, and forgive me, I almost never operate off of the script that I'm so scatterbrained that I should be able to at least remind myself of the thoughts that are very important. You know, in the 29 years that I was in the legislature, I think it's interesting, and I've never considered this until I started thinking about this debate. In my 29 years, and this is verifiable with people like Chet Novus, Bob Kuzman, Rayfield Fisher, who I served with in the legislature a long time ago, Phil Bainbridge, from Maryville, who was the youngest Speaker of the House in the history of the state at that time, Jerry Reva, all these people I served with from Lake County. I think this is very verifiable. I was the guy that they would always come when they had regional issues and needed a Republican vote come captain. And if I thought it was a really good public policy issue, you bet, I voted with it. I venture to say that I probably cast more votes for this region than anyone in this room in 29 years. Because Lake County always came forward with their own package. And there were a lot of controversial issues. And I understood good public policy, regardless of where it is good public policy. So I was not a regional person. I guess we need to understand we're the heart of America's transportation system. Where else? Look at the map. Look at the map of where we're at. Draw a circle right around where we're sitting. Move out a 25-mile circle from this very spot. It's got to be the only place in the country where we've got rail, ports, interstate highway, everything necessary. We're the heart of transportation for the United States of America. We need to do everything we can to make it a modern and efficient transportation system. We have problems. They're solvable. Let them hang out there for a while, they become more expensive, and they become much harder to solve. Are you satisfied with what you have now? Are you comfortable with your family, your friends, your constituents, traveling on those highways today? When you walk away from here today, will you feel that you've done the right thing, that you fulfilled your duty here today? I can tell you right now that when I walk out of here, the things that will be intact for me are 23 months ago I told you all this was going to be a different place. We were going to deliver for you. We were going to solve problems for you. I didn't care what the politics were then, and I sure don't care about what they are now. The only thing I want to see is things happen. And regardless of how this vote goes, I leave here with my integrity intact, my mission intact, most of all my commitment to all of you, regardless of how you vote, regardless of how you vote. We will continue to deliver everything we can for you. I'm asking you to make this a responsible vote. Sure, in certain parts of the area, it's not possible. But the real question is, does it conform? That should be, the vote should be based on, does it conform to the 2040 plan? I believe it does. And thank you for listening to me.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, I'd like to make some comments concerning this proposed toll road. At first, I'd like to comment in the short term. Currently, in the northern part of the county, especially in the city of Gary, you have some of the largest truck stops in the United States. You have truck stops at Ripley Street, you have truck stops at Burr Street, you have truck stops at Klein Avenue, you have truck stops at Grant Street. These truck stops generate millions and millions of dollars of revenue annually and provide many, many jobs for citizens up in the northern part of the county. You already have 3 or 4 of the largest trucking companies located in Gary: Snyder, Royale, Swift, and one other company that's up there. You have these new truck dealerships that are sprouting up in Gary. You have that sell Mack trucks. You have Truck City up there. They sell Peterbilt. You have truck repair facilities that are locating in the city to repair these tractor trailer trucks. And you're talking about, and these companies generate a lot of or contribute greatly to the tax base in the city. And you're talking about diverting approximately 22% of the traffic away from the city. Also in the south part of Lake County, the citizens, they don't want this 12 miles of roadway. This 12 miles of roadway would cut across some of the most fertile soil in the state of Indiana, down along the Kankakee watershed, and it's also predicted that it might contribute to the sprawl. In the long-term development, in our plan, we're talking about the Gary Airport and expansion and the shipping port on the lake and an intermodal facility. And I cannot understand why we want to redirect the traffic to an existing intermodal facility in Elwood, Illinois, or why we want to direct the traffic through Peatone, which enhances the prospect or chances of future development of a Peatone airport. Why are we more concerned about Illinois' economy than we are about our own economy? Also, I have other concerns. It's my understanding the state has agreed to make fixed-based payments to these private concessionaires, and that guarantees that the concessionaires will receive the projected revenue even if there's a substantial total revenue shortfall. And that cost will be borne by the taxpayers of Indiana. And what it boils down to is simply a transfer of public tax money to private concessionaires. In the Toll Road News, which is one of the toll journals, that the toll road operators have indicated that toll roads built in suburban rural areas from 1996 to 2004 have only generated 1/3 of the projected revenues. That the consultants for these companies promoting these toll roads, they are exaggerating the projected revenues to us so that they can get us to approve the development or expenditure of money for these toll roads. So I don't see the advantage to Indiana. I see the advantages to Illinois. We're trying to, if our 2040 plan includes development in Illinois, then I see the advantages. But if we're talking about developing Northwest Indiana, and especially the northern part of Bay County, I don't see advantages to diverting the truck traffic away from the northern part of the county. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me just make a couple of comments. First of all, there's been a lot of talk about trucks, and that's what this is really all about. Interestingly enough, this project is about the future. Representative Otis and I began working on it back in 2007. The real issue is there are more trucks that cross the Indiana-Illinois state line at any given time than any other place in the world. Panama Canal has been widened, Norfolk Southern, CSX spent over $1 billion preparing for it. We're going to have